extremely on-the-point situation of analysis. I would like to say express my gratitude to the organizers of this conclave, and I hope we all learn from it. I have prepared actually a paper for you, and throughout the half night I tried to shrink it down to a more digestible level, because it comes in, it's called From Earthworm to Elephant. That speaks about the dimension that we are sitting in here. We are sitting on a very tiny little point here on that spot. But the dimension is huge. Entering higher education, we enter the level of higher consciousness with a big role in eco-criticism. However, higher consciousness does not necessarily generate on our desks. Ethical values change along with the human evolutionary history, bringing things into the light of awareness. That's why and what we are here for. Ecological illiteracy, and what is meant by that term? This term could not be better point out our blindness towards our failures, treating nature or natural resources as would they not harm anyone and be existing forever. As we all know, when we speak about ecology, we mean relationships and interaction of living organisms and their environment, basically the world around them. But also the interactions amongst them, trees amongst trees, animals with animals, or the interaction amongst humans. Environmental spaces are composed of a multiple dimensions, and they are constantly shrinking and declining. We have heard that from Sir very excellently. The world shrinks to the availability of all and everything at any given time and any place. This is called globalization, with other words. Dark times for elephants and for the earthworms. Let's find out what is going on between the two. I will take you on a little journey that I was writing here. We have cemented and paved in this underground world and have managed to keep us separate from this connection. How sad that is. Microorganisms provide an invaluable role to produce antibiotic compounds to fight their neighbors. The soil provides 1 million possibilities of treatments, 1 million. Just lying under our feet, waiting to be discovered and applied. And the one who constantly works on it is the earthworm. He is the workaholic underground, making and sustaining the soil. He is the restless penetrator of the ground, creating breathing holes and drainages to let the rainwater in, and it keeps the soil in good and soft condition, so that plants, root systems can easily manifest themselves. Whenever I see them in my garden, I start praising them and feel very, very happy. Nitrogen and phosphorus are the nutrients to plants, and plants give fungi carbon to grow. This beneficial relationship is of important value. Plants' matter decays and provides food for microbes, and worms provide food for insects, and insects for birds, and so on. It became a habit to always investigate elephant dung in the jungle wherever it appears with a lot of worms inside. And seeds, which have run through an elephant's tummy and system, it indicates a happy story. I'll come back to the poop a little bit later. At one night in my garden, for the very first time, I witnessed a rare spectacle. A couple of earthworms mating. Who has ever seen such a thing? maybe in Africa. You guys might witness. A tiger in a cage that used to roam 40 square kilometers, to my knowledge, of its territory is limited to some caged 40 square meters. We have an over tiger population in Kaziranga. And it is not the biggest cage could provide the freedom of the wild. And what does an orca do in one of our bathtubs to entertain us? What have we done? How much more heartless and disconnected can we become? We have subjected the animal, stolen its dignity by pushing animals into submission, of which we are afraid now, because this animal is so much more powerful than we ever can imagine. Powerful by its nature. Apparently, mankind does not tolerate something bigger than itself. When I was a child, I always felt more at home in a forest than at home at my parents' house. The forest was silent, mysterious, with lots of animals around that can see me, but barely I, vice versa, could see them. And I spent lots of time there to the disliking of my parents, who were more afraid of anything than I was, and more afraid of my proper education. The forest caught my attention. At home, it was boring. I had a great-grandfather who liked it a lot, and with him, every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning in early autumn, we went out to collect mushrooms. He was very knowledgeable about that. In a forest there is no watch that dictates time. Nature is time itself. And every moment, something unexpected, what we would call unexpected, happens in front of you or simultaneously at another place of which we don't know about. To look into an animal's eye, to listen to aerial noises, to leaves and birds, and all the communicating noises on the ground of a jungle will change your mindset forever. The wild has its own rules and regulations, and we still think that we can rule this part of nature. Today I almost feel like one of these endangered species because my environmental clock is ticking deep down in my chest. At the same speed as the loss of wildlife and forest is happening, even faster. It is like a dung beetle rolling the dung ball uphill while it's getting bigger and bigger and heavier. We have 24 states in India where elephants are found, if I'm not mistaken, in different forest types and landscapes. Human-elephant conflict has emerged as one of the most challenging problems for elephant management and conservation in recent times. Managing HEC is a big issue for forest officers and frontline staff who have to deal with it on a regular daily basis, and especially during crop harvesting seasons by farmers. They are losing their crops in one single night. And the work they have invested in their fields throughout the year proves to have become in vain. Elephants are gourmet as we are and develop a taste record on the crops, with fatalities high during the harvest season. Assam's elephants have developed a palate for paddy, which doesn't fall in the regular diet of wild elephants. As elephants venture into paddy fields, human-animal conflict escalates. The major reasons for elephant deaths in Assam are electrical fencing, deliberate poisoning, and train hits, and a slow death caused by injuries like pelting rocks or spears. These wounds heal very, very badly. And there should be no difference if we poison a wild boar or an elephant. The elephant is just the more intelligent and therein higher species that are endangered. In the same state, about 100 elephants died unnatural deaths during the period from 2013 to 16 on electrocution, according to media reports. In the northeastern part of the state of Assam, 70 to 80 elephants have died in the past 3 years. Between 2006 and 2016, elephants have killed more than 700 people in Assam. It's quite a number in 10 years. The situation has reached catastrophic levels. The area around Golaka district seeing retaliatory attacks on elephants, including fire spearing. Despite their size, elephants are surprisingly delicate creatures. A little fatigue or hunger can weaken them. They require 100 liters of water, if more, and 200 kg of foliage every day, which means foraging for up to 18 hours a day. While they live in forests, they naturally gravitate towards areas near human settlements, creating flashpoints for conflict. There's just a short notes on what they all die. That is consuming food laced with poison or dynamite. That's not necessarily here in the area, but happens as well. Due to massive population growth and rapid industrialization, the habitats of wild elephants have been destroyed by the encroachment of humans, resulting in incidents of human-elephant conflict. Elephants got killed after being hit by running trains, that is another topic. Killed due to electrocution and sagging power lines, killed due to electrocution as being victims of poaching, and a basic loss of habitat, which is the biggest topic. The Indian government has accorded the highest degree of legal protection to elephants and listed it under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. The most recent Wildlife Protection Amendment Act in 2022 came into effect on April 1st, 2023, has been amended multiple times, most recently in 22. As per the elephant census in 2017, India is home to 27,000, some 300 plus elephants, entire state. Assam is home to nearly 10,000 wild elephants. No, I think we have less than 6,000, no? Yeah. And over 30 million people. So can anyone tell me how this math should go per square kilometer? We estimate some 2,413 rhinos in Kaziranga National Park, some 1,200 elephants, census from 2005, in the same park area, and so on. But how many people are permitted to live in 1 square kilometer? We are settling regulations for everything around us, but not for ourselves. Since independence, India grew over 4 times to over 1.34 billion. And we claim all rights for ourselves. This almost feels like the natural world has lost its meaning. It makes elephants and humans, tigers, leopards, and rhinos live in an uneasy proximity, competing for the same landscape, as cities and townships expand. Railways and roads cut across the wilderness, and forests shrink to the top of a match point. People graze their livestock in forests, and the cultivation of monocultures like tea plantations or eucalyptus timber have furthermore degraded the forests. Electrocuted elephants are on the funeral list as well. Around 450,000 families in northeastern India annually cultivate 10,000 square kilometers of forest land with a total area affected by, I'm not exactly sure about the Assamese pronunciation, but something like Janing, amounting to approximately 44,000 square kilometers, according to a study on elephant corridors. Their natural habitat is drastically shrinking due to overpopulation and uncontrolled settlements of humans, and thus degradation of the forest and developmental activities. Like, for example, a subspecies of the Sumatran rhino have already gone extinct in Malaysia a couple of years back. There's an evolutionary lineage of some 40 million years to it. And we are at the very end of it. We will lose an entire biological heritage within one single century if we lose the last 5 rhino species. We are forests, and specifically, why are forests? Specifically, rainforests are so important to our planet. Rainforests provide habitat to millions of creatures with a huge mass of foliage, plants, life, and they help to clean our planet, air, and remove the CO2 released from everything from combustion engines to forest fires. Indigenous people live in deep harmony with their forests. They are the forest, as long as we let them live an untouched life. But even their life is endangered. Rampant deforestation and loss of habitat show a significant impact not only on the herds of elephants, but also on the health and growth of forests. Illegal tree felling cuts huge paths through the forest to the place where illegal mining is happening. Truckloads after truckload will stir up billowing clouds of dust, and a sound cloud of detonations will echo through the pristine forest, forcing animals to leave their habitat and take detours, because their normal pathways are blocked. Habitat destruction leads to biotic annihilation, and biotic annihilation to the impoverishment of the planet. We all might remember some 3-4 years back, and I don't know if it went through the Indian media, but it definitely went through the Western world's media. Their living space is endangered and land has been taken away. The forest has become a place of conflict. In 2020, forest fires in Central and South America and Australia, just to mention a few, have brought enormous destruction to all their animals, plants and trees. Forest fires in 2020 in Australia have banned the world in front of the screen, and everyone could witness under his eyes how devastating the fires were. A helpless world watching animals like koala bears, kangaroos, and other animals being burned alive. Now, just barely, few years later, it is like we have almost forgotten all this disaster. We have become catastrophe accustomed, not just ecologically illiterate. The forest of the world is in flames, and the primary driver is humans with a greedy request for economic gain. Intensive farming releases carbon from our soils, and we're losing soil 50 to 100 times faster than it's able to rebuild. With no rainforest to continue to feed into it, what started out as lush green vegetation is eventually reduced to dry, barren, broken and hard land. The ground has become like a brick. The recent review of documented field observations of elephant carcasses reveals patterns of elephants' behavior towards their dead, regardless of the strength of former relationships with the deceased individual. The most common behaviors observed were approaching the dead, touching and examining the carcass. This behavior sends chills up my spine. Would we go there and show reference to, for example, trees illegally mowed down, or any dead animal? Would we do this to our forests or lost wildlife? Only indigenous people will do. Would we remember the flying of birds from trees in the rainforest cut down by chainsaws of, sorry to mention these, Recon oil, Exxon, Indian oil, for example, or any other? And if you would personally witness that, I think you would never let go. To put it in a nutshell, what we urgently need is a widely spread educational system in schools, colleges, universities, to educate and provide tools for the daily change to a self-sustainable and responsible society and life. Try to avoid buying products with plastic, sir told that about already. Eat fresh vegetables and avoid using any chemicals. Neither for cleaning households nor growing vegetables. We need to share or regain the ethical values we seem to have lost in many ways. The uncontrolled man-made obstacles that bring, at the other end, wildlife to extinction and us to the brink of survival. We are in the same boat. We need to build up this conscious and change patterns. Only this way we will change industries that keep producing plastic, detergents, and all kinds of non-degradable waste that will stay in our environment, our nature. It will stay in us. The message is simple. Let's not use it anymore. Animals. These poor creatures do not share our greedy needs. They simply forage the forest to satisfy their hunger. No doubt that there is an impact of mindless forest encroachment on the migration behavior of elephants. The waters and forests of life and the oil, wood or rock industry do not match. Thanks to GPS mapping, we have maps available which clearly show shrinking forest throughout the years. Like 15 years back, with 1/3 of the same forest left. I'm speaking of, as Sir did, Nambo-Doigong Wildlife Sanctuary, as an example. And we can now speak of local herds, meaning herds that do not migrate due to being confined in their little forest patch or tea plantation. And that's not all. Inbreeding of elephants starts when poaching is on the rise, because poaching is made easy in a situation that can be overlooked. Additionally, the destruction of the corridors which connect the forest, one forest patch with another, by erecting factories and other industries is in these corridors remain uncontrolled and do contribute to human-elephant conflict on a large scale. Again, because herds divide. The industrial sector around Guwahati, next to Depot Bale, one of the largest biosphere wetlands of the world, mixes with the main dumpster of Guwahati city attached. This is just one example next to countless. When the holy river Brahmaputra overflows, all this trash will float into Depot Bale, poison and pollute the swamp waters and all living beings within. That also serves as drinking water for elephants. If people keep considering wetlands as unpleasant, as I have heard, dark, and like wasted land, meaning land not for our usage, is this why we are using this as a dumping ground? I don't know. Yeah, I have to skip before it gets too long. Back to the soil. In Europe, 60 to 70% of the soils are thought to be unhealthy. In many countries, there's little data on soil. It's poorly protected or regulated. We grow on it, build on it, live from it. It filters and cleans our waters, reduces flooding and regulates our atmosphere. It's one of the most biodiverse habitats on Earth and a vital part of the nitrogen and carbon cycle of our planet. But the sad truth is, right now, soil does not have any lobby. It doesn't have any champions to fight for. We literally treat it like dirt. And yet, there's so much untapped potential, so much wonder, and so many secrets just waiting to be discovered on the ground beneath our feet. The forests of our planet are its lungs, a complex ecosystem that cushions extremes of heat and cold, stores a lot of water, and creates a very humid air. Forests are able to store massive amounts of carbon to mitigate climate change. Now I come with the first time with the word climate change after all that, and provide important living conditions for wildlife and so many different species of animals. Organic soil carbon represents an extremely important pool. In tropical rainforests, approximately 50% of the carbon is stored in the biomass and 50% in the soil. At the global level, 19% of the carbon in the Earth's biosphere is stored in plants and 81% in the soil. In all forests, tropical, temperate, and boreal together, approximately 31% of the carbon is stored in the biomass and 69% in the soil. I have, if anyone is interested, I have a source in the UK to know more about that. So the oldest soil on Earth is thought to be in South Africa and dates back 3 million years. Back to Earthworms' journey. If we protect soil, we protect a whole load of other reasons as well. Currently, environmentalists fight for Nambo Doigrum Wildlife Sanctuary and the Deng Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary, the latter considered the Amazon of the East to be upgraded to a national park. I think that has been done, as we just heard. Rainforests are often inconveniently positioned over resources such as coal, oil, rare minerals. Also, the extraction of these resources can be apocalyptic in scale. In this wildlife sanctuary, we find 50 species of wild animals, 300 species of birds, including three species of hornbills, 40 species of reptiles, 155 species of butterflies, 35 species of aquatic life, 60 species of plants, and 101 species of orchids. If, in the latter, mining rights will fulfill the 28 conditions and the area will be legislated, we will lose more than half of the wildlife sanctuary and its precious and unique ecosystem. Yeah, I can only say it again. Coal Limited India had mined 73.2 hectares of forest in the elephant reserve already, illegally. In short, the damage cannot be repaired in a short period of time, if at all. The elephant habitat and corridors in the region are already affected by agricultural expansion, tea plantations, industries, and linear infrastructures like highways and railway tracks. Coal is a non-renewable resource. Destruction of a natural ecosystem for temporary monetary gains will push the local communities towards a deeper crisis in the future. The current world situation is a manifestation of our dysfunctional relationship with nature. We have been warned that depletion of wildlife habitats paved the way for the emergence of viruses like HIV, Ebola, SARS, and coronaviruses. Yet, we want to destroy irreplaceable primary forests like Deng Patkai, Dibang Valley, or Nambo Doigrum Wildlife Sanctuary, or the Bornadi Kalingdwar landscape with its rich, incredibly rich faunal diversity bordering Bhutan, and within the neighboring Jamut Shankar Wildlife Sanctuary on the Bhutan side, with its wide-ranging species as elephants, tigers, leopards, Himalayan black bear, Gore, Chinese pangolin, and 4 types of lesser cats. I am long already, I feel it in my neck. I just wanted to read. Yeah. Maybe about, we need to, I mean, one important thing is we need to protect the forests from deforestation across borders. Deforestation will increase the emission of global warming gases. Up to 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Switzerland come from agricultural usage of the land. An incredible high number, according to this small country. India does have the third largest greenhouse gas emissions in the world. The statistic says the main source is coal. Giving precedence to coal over natural forests is regressive, with progressive nations scheduling an end to coal mining. Human-induced deforestation, particularly from farming and mining, is creating a disastrous picture. Eco-sensitive zones must be notified by the Honorable Supreme Court of India and become protected areas of wildlife and wildlife habitat by strict regulations and implementations on mining activities as well, not just encroachment by people. Although the government of India has issued standard welfare issues on the upkeep of captive elephants, the conditions of facilities are miserable and lacking a basic understanding of the animal's needs. These captive elephants suffer throughout their lives. Why are they tortured, ripped of their families and tortured in the name of religion? Why is almost one captive elephant dying in the south of India per week, kept in temples or by private owners? Why were elephant babies captured in the wild and ripped from their families to live a most traumatic life under violence and submission by humans in the name of, name it, religion, celebration, worshipping? Why do so many elephants have plastic to eat nowadays, attracted by household vegetable waste that comes with other household plastic? Why do we litter our industrial waste everywhere we humans go? Why do tourists have to ride on elephants? The list of these questions can be endless. What power play is being carried out on the back of these poor gentle giants? I have to skip a lot. Trees. Let's come back to trees for a second. We have entered a new decade since we can destroy animal species within half of a century. Trees are not the same. As all of other beings on Earth, they build families and relationships with neighboring trees and plants. Old trees can be of great importance to the forest ecosystem. Here, in mid-Europe, our eldest trees are about 200 to 300 years old, with the exception of some 1,000-year-old oak trees. Until reserved forests will turn into jungle again, it will take a long time. For example, I found an important information in a German-written book titled The Secret Lives of Trees. In this book, Dr. Zoe Lindo from the McGill University in Montreal is mentioned to have found and investigated Sitka spruce trees with the age of minimum 500 years in Canada. The researcher only found large amounts of moss on twigs and forks on such old specimens. The younger don't have. Blue-green algae had settled in the green cushions, with caught nitrogen from the air and converted it so that the trees could absorb it. With the rain, the natural fertilizer is washed down and added to the roots. Old trees fertilize the forest and help the young to get off a better start, as young trees are still bearing like babies, bearing from moss. They don't have that moss. Yeah, I would like to mention a few tree species. In the Western Ghats, with are only 100 tree species left, and from the other kind is only 15 to 20 individuals left. Also, trees are going extinct. Out of 387 Indian plants listed under the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List, 77 have been enlisted as critically endangered. 6 are extinct. Yeah. If you give me a half more page. Back to earthworm and elephant. We can consider the earthworm as the engineer of the ecosystem, with no other tool than a toothless mouth and some strong muscles to push the food down its stomach for processing. What comes out the other end is extremely healthy for the soil of our forests or gardens. You must imagine, it simply eat and poop while working its body through the soil. Same as elephant. Simply eat and poop while walking the forest. Up to 20 kilometers a day, if not more. These seeds travel far distances in an elephant's tummy. Elephant apples, wild guava, jackfruit seeds, etc. What comes out the other end is extremely healthy for the soil and the growth of the diversity of a forest. And it disperses the diversity of its seeds and millions of microorganisms, and thereby decreases microbial biomass, meaning bacteria and fungi, all over the forests, wherever elephants walk or earthworms dig. Without them, the soil is unfruitful and hard as a brick. These soil processing machines, so big that they tower over us and so small that we need to use a microscope to see them down in the ground, are key to the health of the ecosystem. Vermiculture, respectively vermicomposting, is well known to farmers and gardeners, and also practiced here in India in some villages with enormous success. Worm manure is a miracle to the growth of vegetable plants and trees, and some poop of domestic cattle as well. So, elephant manure, elephant poop is magical as the sight of the animal. As a little kid, I started collecting my experience in the forest and always bothered by my mom with questions like, whose animal pooped here? Whose animal is this? With my eyes glowing on that poop, I was showing my hand picked up and proudly the findings under my mother's face. And she just shook her head, so what you do with this? Just throw it out. So I have kept that into my later years. And I think it is a very important thing, what we eat and what we poop out the other side. Be we an elephant, an other animal, whatever creature which lives on this planet. It's clear we need to gain time until we manage to speed up the slow mill of approaching cleaner technologies versus the overnight exploding global destruction by industrial mismanagement and toxic emissions affecting climate change. Plant forests, multiple use plantations will contribute to combat against the desertification and erosion in vulnerable areas and protect the existing ones. We talk about planting projects here around Golakot in specific areas. We'll speak about that probably right now. If anybody is interested, and please join. You have a local NGO in place. You have Dr. Rajiv Basumatari here, who receives all people who want to go out and help planting, because that's what we need, and that's what we need to bring back to the classroom, that kind of education. That is very important. We cannot do anything from the perspective of the street. We need to go in the field to tackle all these issues. If the economic lobby doesn't change, nor allow us to change, we have to change ourselves and exchange that lobby. We are the only one here to help unfold that purpose. There's nobody else. Thank you.